Yeah.
What?
This is nice and neat.
We still ain't getting no shoulders. Still ain't getting none. This is what you look like to everybody.
Yeah.
To the hundreds, pledge allegiance, I stand. I'm going pull forward in the fucking white sand. I give it all to this fucking mic stand if it's been done before.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm on the rise, I'm trying to keep a level head. She want my time, she begging me to give me head. I'd rather share.
Yes, sir. Yo, what's the deal, y'all? Hope all is well. Welcome back to another episode. I'm Duke.
I'm Omar.
I'm Jalon.
And I'm Pastor Ray.
Yes, sir.
And welcome back to another episode of the #1 podcast in all of Los Angeles, Nice and Neat. As you can see, we got a very, very special guest here. We have P. Ray, relationship coach, pastor, advisor, all of the things above. We got brothers. We got an incredible episode today. I'm gonna give you a little background for me on how this episode even happened.
Yeah.
So, I'm a barber. Some of you guys may or may not know. I'm a barber. I'm cutting P. Ray. Sitting there cutting them, we chopping it up, we talking, it's relationship talk. You know, when you getting a haircut, it's not just, like ladies, I'm sure y'all think 15, 20, 30 minutes. Nah, you sitting with me an hour and a half?
At least.
At least.
For sure.
At least. But that hour and a half is full of substance and not only an incredible haircut, the most important haircut and greatest haircut you're going to get in your life, but it's a lot of information that we talking about. And he said something to me that really, really, really rang a bell. He said, you know how we sit down and we talk about financial literacy all the time and, we try to gain financial literacy. He was like, when do people have the time to talk about marriage literacy? And that right there, it led me into an oasis of questions. I started asking questions and I was like, you know what, man? We have this podcast, the #1 podcast in all Los Angeles called Nice and Neat. And I think you should join us for this. I think you should join us. And he said he had a couple of things specifically that he wanted to talk about that I didn't even let myself get into because I wanted to share it for my brothers.
Oh, come on.
And all of y'all. So P. Ray, welcome. Yeah. Welcome to the couch, man.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about yourself, brother.
Man, thanks, man. I'm a pastor here in LA at Hope's House Christian Ministries, executive pastor, life coach, and I also do marriage therapy, marriage counseling, stuff like that, just getting into it. To be honest with you, my approach is different because I've experienced divorce. So I've been in it, right? I know what it's like to have a successful marriage. I know what it's like to not, right? And just living from that space, I realized that what I didn't get the first time was the truth. Everybody is like, once you say you get married, what do they say? Congratulations. It's all good, man. Right? But nobody asks any questions. But then when the divorce rolls around, now everybody got all the questions.
Wow.
Yep.
So in my head, I was like, man, if y'all would have asked me these questions before, right?
Might have saved
I
your
would have
marriage?
I think I would have processed it differently because we would have asked some different questions to really see each other, right? Because we were great friends. But within the context of marriage, it was very difficult because we saw life differently, right? Great person, right? We're both friends. But a lot of people, and that's the thing that you got to watch with cliches. They're dangerous because if you take them on as truth, I married my best friend. But what does that mean though? Because every one of your friends you can't be married to. So if I'm processing this is my best friend, which I was, then I was like, well, everything else should be cool. But you don't understand the context of marriage is beyond friendship. Friendship is deep, but it's a lot of stuff we got to deal with that as friends you can't right? Man, I'll tell you something that I ran into that was crazy. So I was like, my current wife, the wife that I have right now, we were super close. And I could talk to her. We talked like she was one of my boys. That's how we talked, like when we were friends. When we got together, all of that changed. So I'd be like, oh, man, you stupid. When we were friends, it was like, ha, you crazy. But once we got married, I was like, man, you stupid. What? Like all of a sudden, like the same stuff that I said before, in context, now that I'm your wife, it's not the same. So I had to readjust it wasn't all the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just think that for a lot of people, we don't ask the questions, which is why I said what happened to marriage literacy, because we're just now getting into financial literacy in a lot of cultures, right?
Yeah.
So now financial literacy is big,
Right.
but marriage is one of the greatest decisions you'll ever make in your life. If that's the space you're going, I always tell people your decisions will only do two things. They will either protect you or leave you vulnerable.
So what is like the if I go to Webster dictionary and I look up marriage literacy, what's that sentence going to say?
I don't even know that you're gonna get it
Because it's not there.
It's not there
not
because nobody's thought of it. And why would no one think that we need to have? Do they teach marriage in high school?
Nah.
Nope. They used to teach home ec. They're just now getting into financial literacy. But nobody thinks that one of the greatest decisions you'll make in your life is worth a class.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Just think about that.
All the things that really matter in life, when you really think about, we don't have class for, to be honest.
But that's what I'm saying. So now
Yeah.
you're talking about the miseducation of an entire culture,
Yeah.
and then you wonder why, and then we all been out of shape over the divorce rate. Well, no, that's typical for the lack of education we got.
Okay.
I got a question.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be too forward with this, but you mentioned that you and your ex-wife were best friends, and then you guys got married. But you said you guys didn't see things on the same page. You guys weren't on the same page, or you guys didn't see things eye to eye. How does one marry a partner when you don't see things eye to eye? Like, how does that happen? How does that even happen?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you, because you confuse compatibility and purpose.
Come on.
We were compatible in all the friendship categories, but when it came to my purpose, it was like that's where everything got shaky, right? So if, for instance, and this is one of the questions, are you compatible with my purpose? Because we love going to see movies, we love hanging out, we love eating, but my purpose requires me, and I'm using this as an example, this wasn't my situation, but my purpose requires me to be out in public, but you like me to stay at home.
Are you compatible with that?
It's gonna be a conflict at some point.
Are you compatible with that? Because my impact to the world, I belong to them. Like, so for me as a pastor, people are always coming to me for something. That's the nature of what I do. So if I'm with somebody that loves me at home but hates public me, not because of the way that I behave, but because of the fact that she has to share me, now we got a problem.
Yep.
It's never not going to be a problem.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So if we use the idea of compatibility, I got to consult my purpose first to see if this is a match. Not just, do we laugh? Can we hang out? Do we like eating pizza together?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So what about if you don't realize your purpose until after you get in a relationship?
Oh, that's on you. That was
get
part
what
of
I
my
mean?
issue. I didn't know who I was. And especially when it comes to men, the scary part when it comes to us is that men date and choose mates based on their insecurities.
Based on a man's insecurities.
Based on a man's insecurities, which means if you ever heal, you automatically outgrow the person you chose when you didn't see yourself the way you should have saw yourself.
Oh.
You set yourself up and don't even know that you're setting yourself up. I didn't know who I was. So when I started that journey, right, of taking off all the fear, the fear of making mistakes and the fear of failure, and I started really diving in and leaning into who I was, it was a lot. So really it was unfair to her because I hadn't done the personal work.
You mentioned the word purpose.
Yeah.
And I saw this post circulating on social not too long ago. It was actually an artist, Joey Badass, right? And he was talking about men's purpose will always come before anything.
Yeah.
I would love to get your insight on that as a married man, right? Does your purpose come before your marriage? Or does the marriage come before your purpose? Because you brought purpose up and being compatible with the purpose. So how does that work with married people?
I would say purpose comes first. And I will say it has to. Because if you don't know why you here, then everything kind of flows from that. The vision I have for my life what I believe God placed inside of me and what I'm supposed to be doing with every breath that I take on this earth, it drives everything else. So if I'm out of alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing, then nothing else works. Your marriage can't heal your lack of direction. And that's what people do. They look for ways, oh, well, I ain't never been faithful to anybody, so let me get married. Well, if marriage is the first time you try monogamy,
Good luck.
God bless.
Good luck.
God
you
bless.
see what I'm saying?
Good luck.
But you feel what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of people think if I do it, then it'll change me. Marriage is like money. It's just going to expose more of what you are.
Who you are.
Okay.
That's it, right?
Okay.
And then as you take the journey, then you'll start to, okay, I'm making adjustments in this person, because the person that you're with is a mirror. And if you can't deal with what
Show
they,
you who
you
you
know,
are.
you'll say it, man, if she wouldn't have said that, then I wouldn't have reacted like that. I don't know what got into me. That's not the question you should be asking. Nothing got into you. It's what came out of you. It was always there. You just needed to trigger.
So I don't want to like deviate too far, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask you something. Tom Brady and Giselle,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is football his purpose? Can he consider that his purpose?
I'm glad you said that.
Because you said that your purpose is supposed to come before your marriage.
Yeah.
Traditionally,
Ain't no
right?
way that can be
Yeah.
his purpose.
I'm just saying though, how can you tell someone else what he believes his purpose is?
So-
if his purpose is to inspire people,
Yeah.
maybe not football, maybe it's to inspire people through his story, and that's his conduit to do that.
Yeah.
He may feel like that.
So I'm gonna walk carefully around this topic just because I don't know Tom Brady, right? But what I do believe is that there is a difference between addiction and walking in purpose. If I make an agreement with you that I'm gonna run this thing out for 15 years and then I'm going to stop, we've made the agreement.
Okay.
Now, if I say purpose is what's keeping me going past the agreement, then I broke the agreement. You see what I'm saying?
You're trying to take advantage of the agreement.
You're trying to take advantage of the agreement and then blaming purpose. What more do you need to do, right? That you haven't done? What more do you need to do? And let's talk about the sacrifices that your spouse has to make in order for you to do that.
Yeah.
At what point do you allow your spouse to then thrive like you have for the last 15 years?
Right.
See,
Because she's been putting a lot of things on to the side.
Exactly.
So then we
So
have
you
to-
have to consider that.
Then we have to look at purpose as something that has a lifespan, right? So it's not something
I
that.
feel like purpose is lifelong.
But you can't say that in this situation because that may very well
It's not his purpose.
you don't know that.
It's not his purpose, bro.
How do you know though?
This ain't his purpose.
What I'm
Football
saying-
ain't nobody's purpose,
It's
bro.
not football though.
Okay.
You feel me? It may not be football, and I hear you, but it may not be football.
Yeah.
It's just how he gets there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just how he gets there.
Yeah.
So
Football might be the vehicle.
That's all
He
I'm
not done
saying.
driving
And
the
That's
vehicle.
all I'm saying.
And that's what I was gonna say.
That's all I'm saying.
He might see purpose. I agree with both of y'all. Purpose is lifelong, but you don't stay in the same vehicle throughout. Tom Brady's purpose, the way he inspires people and what he's done, his commitment, his dedication, has inspired an entire nation.
It's done.
It's done.
It's done.
So what you're doing in this vehicle is just repeat.
Yeah.
You need another Super Bowl. You need another. No,
Yeah.
you're scared to live.
Ooh.
And that's the difference. There are a lot of people who confine themselves and who say, and that's what I mean when I say if your insecurities drive you. What was he? Y'all, I know y'all know. What draft pick was he?
sixth
Sixth
round.
round. He's still that guy.
Yeah.
That's the problem. He never healed. So his wife is saying, I thought by now you'd be content as the sixth. You're not the 6th round draft pick anymore. You're Tom freaking Brady.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to deviate too much.
Do you
right?
see what I'm saying?
But like at some point, he should, right? That chip on his shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Made him who he is.
Absolutely.
He should carry that chip onto the next transition phase of his life, shouldn't he?
Or he could heal.
Because it makes him great.
Or he
Or-
can eat
or-
that chip and know who he is, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Like the thing, sometimes the danger, and I've been in this space too, where the toxic part of you is where you think your identity lies. I don't think Tom Brady needs the chip anymore. but he thinks he does. He still operates from that space. You see what I'm saying? I think that we limit ourselves and our ability and our capacity when we think I got to be angry to be great. Or I got to always think of myself less than in order to be great. What if, because here's the thing. You see what I'm saying? So the problem is, I need the chip on my shoulder when I'm on the field, but that same chip is destroying my marriage. So what do you choose?
Yeah. It's time to let one of them go, and it's not going to be the marriage.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, and I was talking to, I used to be a musician. I was a musician, and I remember being out on the road with Hammer. Y'all remember Hammer was huge. And I remember him talking about the transition from going somewhere and everybody knowing who you are and caring about it, and then not, and what that means and how people readjust. And if you don't have the next chapter, like what Kobe did, or what, you know what I mean, what other stars do, if you don't have that next chapter, you stay in the current chapter. And I just think that he's not willing to turn the page. But in his unwillingness to turn the page, he gonna lose out.
Maybe he doesn't know how to turn the page.
Maybe
he's been doing it for so long, he just doesn't know how to flip it.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I don't want to go too far. You said something that...
Y'all not going too far. I'm telling you, because all of this is important.
All of this is important.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get to something. I want to begin something before... So I want to begin something. You said that's one of the questions. And what were you referring to when you said that's one of the questions?
Is the person compatible with your purpose?
Okay, that's one of the questions to what?
To ask. Like, you really have to sit and say, so this is what Duke was, what you were talking about. First, you got to know who you are. So that means you got to do some personal work to know that this is my purpose. This is the reason why God gave me life. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? I had a discussion with my wife probably a year or two into our marriage, and what she said was, and this was interesting, she said, you told me who you were, but I didn't know the details. I didn't realize the requirement. You see what I'm saying now? I didn't know the hours. I didn't know. So now I'm like, man, I'm sorry because I said it, but you didn't understand that meant these types of hours, me meeting with these kinds of people or this often. And sometimes I got to give up holidays to be at church, and we vacation on the off weeks and not the weeks where everybody else, like, you know what I'm saying? So the details of what it means, it's just like with y'all, like, I got to talk to you about what it means for me to be out for 2 or 3 weeks promoting this podcast, and you got to be okay with me leaving and then coming back. Like, I need to know the details of what your purpose requires. And if you don't know that, then now I'm in a relationship with somebody that said, but that wasn't you. I agreed to something else. And now I have to readjust. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that that's one of the things you really got to drill down. If you don't know who you are, you'll make the wrong decision.
So is that one of the things that you say that people should ask the questions before marriage?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to know who you are.
Okay.
That's number one. That's number one. You got to know who you are and what you were put on this earth to do. Right?
So you can communicate that to your partner.
You got to be able to communicate that, and you got to know it for yourself, because somebody without direction can't lead anybody else.
So would you say that if you don't understand your purpose, you shouldn't even like be dating at all?
Yeah. No, your time should be spent on you. You don't have time for that. That's a distraction for you because you don't even know what you're here for.
That's something to listen to right there.
You see what I'm saying? Because you got, if I can either sabotage my life or grow it based on my decisions. That's all they're going to do. Every decision you make is going to take you in one direction or the other, either towards purpose or away from it. And the further you get away from it, the more frustrated you're going to be.
Let me ask you a question. If you don't know your purpose, if you know your purpose, but you don't know how you're going to get there, should I be dating?
You don't know how you're going to get there.
I just don't know how I'm going to get there. So let's say, for example, my purpose is, I use something general, is to touch as many people as I possibly can touch. I don't know how I'm going to do it, though. I know it's in my purpose. I know I feel it. I experience it daily. I just don't know the vehicle I'm going to take to get there.
Yeah, let's say he wants to coach people.
Yeah.
This is pretty, like, I just want to coach people to think higher of themselves, be more confident. But I could do it by writing books. I could do it by having a podcast. I could do it by speaking. Truth. I could do it by so many different avenues that require different levels of work.
Yeah. So I would say this: the vehicle, going back to the Tom Brady situation, the vehicle may change, right? So it could be books, it could be a podcast, it could be this, right? But you have to have an idea on the requirements, right? If I'm a professional athlete and I get married to somebody, right, then they got to know that there's a certain amount of time I got to spend on this every day. Like, I'm not going to be here. I'm 7 months out of the year. You're not going to see me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of got to know where you are. And especially what I've seen so often in just dealing with couples is men who are not locked into a vision for their lives end up hurting their mates. We're dangerous. We're dangerous without purpose. Like, I had a Doberman, and it was during a lockdown, and it was nothing that we could do, right? We had him in the backyard. I would try to take him out for walks, but I had a specific place where I would take him and take him for walks and stuff like that, and they shut the college down where I would take him. And he's a working dog. So when he ain't working, he messed up the yard.
Yep.
That's us. If I'm not working in purpose, if I'm not moving, I'm a working dog. That's what I do. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't have work, if I don't have vision, if I don't have clarity, I'm going to mess up my own yard. And that's what we do. And we don't even realize it. Like, you just the closest person to me, so I take you out because I lack purpose in my own life. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and then I use dating to sedate the fact that I'm lost. So now I'm lost looking for somebody else, and I'm going to choose somebody that doesn't hold me accountable to my lostness. You see the setup? So now I'm connected to somebody that's lost. I'm lost. We trying to figure out why we can't get anywhere. Now I'm blaming you. I'm resentful because you holding me back, but I don't even know what you holding me back from. I just know you don't understand me.
Wow.
But it's because I didn't do the work. So I don't even know who I am. I just know I'm frustrated. But what you're frustrated about is the you that you're trying to get to that's screaming, no, that ain't the one. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even know why I'm uncomfortable in this conversation. I don't even know why. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do I feel this way? It's just not, what is that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the you supposed to be.
Yeah. What's the next level? What's the next thing that you should be asking before you get married?
Who breaks the tie? That's a question you got to ask. Meaning, if both of us have complete convictions on opposite ends of the decision, who breaks the tie? Because it's only two of you. I know I'm right, and you know you're right. Who breaks the tie?
How do you go through that?
All right.
How do you break?
Yeah. How do you get that decision?
How do you get the answer?
And that's where the discussion comes in. What are our roles in this? Who are you and who am I in this? What we're going to in marriage? Like, what does this look like? Because if it's just the two of us and we have very strong opinions about a thing, we got to decide, and that's where communication comes in. What business do you know that runs well with no role clarity?
None. Zero.
So why are we trying to do that with a business that requires it?
Because this is a business.
It's a business.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm skipping, and we don't have to do it in any particular order, but marriage is not just an institution of love. It's an institution of agreement. That's why you do the vows. It's contractual.
Okay. I got a question on agreements.
Okay.
Because you're a God-fearing man.
Yeah.
Not only that, you're a pastor.
Yeah.
Right? Where does one say, I have to break this agreement with my wife, and we have to leave this relationship? Because as a Christian, right?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to believe in divorce. You're supposed to fight through it.
Absolutely.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
So how do you come to that decision?
I'm going to tell you, I have obviously been in it myself. I wasn't a pastor when I was divorced.
Okay.
But I was in the faith and a minister, an elder. And that was tough, right? It's even hard to describe now when I think about it. Like the pain of, and you're right, there's a lot of stuff I know now that I didn't know then. But I think I don't look at, what makes me most sad is not the divorce. What makes me most sad is the fact that I brought somebody into my own confusion and didn't know it. That's what pains me the most about that situation.
That's real accountability right there.
Yeah, because nobody put a gun to my head. I thought I was doing all the right stuff as a Christian. And that's part of my anger with the church. And I'm a part of the church. I'm not bashing it, but the whole thing was about, you know, you got to, at a certain age, you can't be playing around. You got to just go ahead and get married. You got to just, you know what I'm saying? And that's what the church said, but no marriage literacy, no training, no, right?
Just
so
time.
Nothing.
Just hop out there on game day.
Just
Hop out there
time.
on game day.
Just
play.
time. You know what I'm saying?
You're this age, you've been dating this long, get married.
That's what I'm saying. And then even in the reverse, when it comes to marriage, when you talk about, oh, well, such and such, they've been married for this long, but time is not a determining factor of success.
Right.
In fact, this generation is probably more traumatized by marriages that were divorced at home 100%. and intact on paper. Because that's where they getting the idea for marriage. Yeah. You know how many people I talk to that say, oh, no, I saw my parents are still married. But that relationship was so horrible, and what I saw, I'll never do that. Yeah. So the reason why they're looking at marriage the way they are is because of what they saw. Nobody has any statistics on divorces that happen without actual paper divorces, right? Where you divorced in the house, but you're not on paper. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nobody has statistics on what that does to a child's mind when they're watching a toxic relationship that never changes. Mm-hmm. We don't have it. We just know that when two people get married and they split up and the two houses and all that kind of stuff, we got statistics on that. But we've never taken statistics because nobody talks about it.
Facts. Yeah.
And that's what church was 2 generations ago. So now you got all these people saying, no, where I'm at now, I'm out. Wow. I'm not going to stay in this.
So
you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I do.
So, but it's because nobody's asking the tough questions beforehand.
For sure.
The counseling you get is 3 weeks before the wedding. Yeah. That's not counseling.
It's not counseling.
That's just checking off the box. But what if you started counseling when you got engaged and said, this is an actual engagement, which means
you got practice and like put the stuff in play
and we're
right
discovering whether or not we can be married.
I got you.
So that's the process.
Do you think that there should be like a time limit on how long you should be engaged with saying that?
Good question.
I do.
Like it should be like a period, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A period of you getting yourself together and then y'all getting yourselves together, right? There's a health for you as an individual, and then there's a method for you and your spouse, you and your person, in terms of who are we going to be. And that's where these questions come from, right? Mm-hmm. Who's going to break the tie? How are we going to make decisions when we don't agree? Are you going to give me more weight or are you going to have more weight? And how do we decide who has more weight?
Is there a wrong or right answer, or is it like because you're a man, you kind of just make executive decisions?
It's not. And I think y'all all traditional males in the way you move. I kind of felt that. I kind of picked that up. I am as well. But what I learned was, what I've seen a lot of men make mistakes is thinking that being the head or being the one that takes the lead means you make all the decisions.
Got you.
And there are spaces where your mate is much stronger than you, but because of your ego, you destroy the ability to hear a better perspective. Mm-hmm. So I think that you have to decide, oh, well, when it comes to finances, babe, you got this. Mm-hmm. So if we at an impasse, and it comes to this, I'm gonna let you take it. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but when it comes to this, do you trust me? Because that's really what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Do you trust that even if you feel the exact opposite as strongly as I do on my position, do you trust me enough to go in this direction because you trust the information that I bring in?
So the tiebreaker is really a case by case situation.
It can be, or if your mate decides, no, you got it. You see what I'm saying? Yep. But there has to be it has to be an understanding. Mm-hmm. It's just like sports. We go through all the scenarios, and if this happens, this the play we running. Yep. If this is where we are,
the guy.
You the guy. You see what I'm saying? Yep. These are where your strengths. If we on the 1 yard line, we ain't passing.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
No matter what.
Bring the big guys in.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like that's the part where you you figure it out, and that's where you discover whether or not you're dealing with somebody that's battling for position.
Okay. Man. What's the deal, y'all? Welcome back to the Nice and Neat Halftime Show. I'm your host, Omar. We sitting here chopping game with Ray. Brother Ray is blessing us on just marriage literacy. Marriage literacy, man. I'm pretty sure you guys never heard about it. We've never heard about it. And we're just so blessed and grateful to have him here pouring into our cups. But with that said, y'all know we're going to get into the game. Them the rules. Duke, talk to us, man. What we got?
Yeah, man. So since we are traditional men and whatnot, all right, let's talk about last names.
Ooh.
Let's talk about last
straight
names.
to it. You're not even going.
Yeah, no, let's talk about last names. And I want to know, P. Ray, Pastor Ray, Ray Charles, whatever. Yo, how do you feel about women keeping their last name after getting married?
Which answer you want first?
I want the real one.
Okay, so I still think it's kind of like what we talked about before. I think it's a case-by-case basis, and it's the two people that are in that relationship that have to make that decision. If you ask me personally what I believe in the traditional sense of the person whose last name you're taking is the one that's responsible.
I never thought about that.
Either.
Well, that's what it is. When you take my name, it means that I am the one that is now responsible for your well-being.
Oh.
So my response to my wife was, well, you think about it. So what's your last name?
Ihenacho.
Ihenacho. Right?
Ihenacho.
But I'm saying, so when you get married and they see her, they know who's responsible. So they know that I'm looking at your work.
Yo, that's crazy that you said that. I never thought about that because we'll get so much pushback for even saying that. Like, nah, I want you to take my last name, and I never even thought about it like that. But it makes so much sense.
So in the case of just using a public figure,
Okay.
right, for the sake of conversation, in the terms of Kim Kardashian West, right?
Right.
A hyphenated.
Excuse me. Yeah, a hyphenated last name.
I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem with it. I just think that you have to discuss what works for us. You know what I'm saying? Some people are not going like that don't work for me. Other people, that's cool, right? A lot of times when you talk about public figures, you're also talking about leverage. You're talking about how people know you. You're talking about holding on to a brand. So there's a whole lot like this.
Yeah.
The world we living in is way different from when you would take your dude's last name. So I think it just matters. It matters most what y'all agree on.
How do you tie break that?
I don't even know.
Wow.
Good question.
You understand what I'm saying? And for me to say I know the answer would be a lie.
Yep.
Because it really does depend on the two people in the relationship. And man, how do you agree to compromise on something that is now for the rest of your
It's
life?
black and white. That's something that's black and white.
It
Literally.
is.
Yeah.
It's on
It
paper.
is.
That's black
It
and
is.
white.
Black and white.
But here's the thing that then becomes a tough decision that you have to make. Because now you got to decide not who they are, but who are you? Can you live with that? Those are some of the things that you got to ask yourself. That's not one of my top 5 questions, but that's something you got to ask yourself. Being the type of man that I am I comfortable with somebody who doesn't agree with taking my name and my name alone? Because trust me, the thing that you think is not a big deal will be the thing that destroys the relationship. That's how it happens. It's the stuff that you kind of look over and think, oh, that's not really a big deal. Like, we'll figure it out after we get married. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. Because every time you sign something together and you see that hyphenated name, you're going to get mad like you did at the first conversation. Because it's still, you ain't changed your mind about it. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. You really got to know who you are when you walk into this marriage thing, because what you're saying when you marry somebody is, I agree with you. Not I love you.
I agree.
I agree. I agree with your debt. I agree with what you are. I
Debt,
agree
hold
with
up,
what you're
debt?
not.
Yeah, you take that home.
You taking it on. That's
it
what
on.
you see what I'm saying? And a lot of people like, oh, we'll figure it out. No, you're not gonna figure it out.
That's yours.
And especially if you don't know. And that's one of my questions. How are you with financial vulnerability?
We gotta say that for the second half.
Okay.
Okay.
I get it.
Okay, you said so. We gotta say, sorry. Yeah, hold on. Let's get too far.
Sorry.
Come on.
So back to the last name. That's something that's a tough tie break.
That's tough.
And you got to know who you are because it may mean the end.
Oof.
That may be a non-negotiable for some people.
Well, if it is non-negotiable, then that means it's non-negotiable. And that's the thing we play around with. Oh, this is a deal breaker, but I'm going to keep going.
Then that's a deal breaker.
Then it's not a deal breaker, or you're running from conflict and running from, like, it don't mean that much to you then.
But let me ask you this, though. Is something like a last name, does it merit a deal being broken, right? As a man, because if a man comes and say, you know what, I would never, that's one of my non-negotiables, and then everyone else says, well, how can you let something like that be a non-negotiable? And people start questioning, like, if he's a man and things like that. Do you feel like there's merit in that?
No. I think that, number one, I don't believe that anybody else's experience is your Bible.
Okay.
The way you live your life and what you do, that's you. And the way I live and my convictions is me. So I'm not basing who I am on what you think about me.
Okay.
That's part of being a man to me, right? So if that's how I'm moving, then that's how I'm moving. Now, I can tell you that over time, for me, I was very, strict, very traditional when it came to it. And now, with my wife 10 years down the road, I'm like, you know what? That was young me tripping. It don't really mean that much because I'd rather just have peace.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I hear
and
you.
that's something that you don't know early on when you're younger or if you haven't been in the situation. But how you spell your name and what's placed on it, if I can come home and you're my peace, you can put whatever name you want to put on it. That's how I am now, right?
Okay.
So I just think that I would advise men to really think about that. Like, is it worth losing her?
Okay.
That's
the answer. That's
the
pretty
answer.
much the answer to the question.
That's
Is
the
it worth
answer.
Is it worth losing her?
And them?
Duh.
Rules.
Oh, man, if you guys haven't already, be sure to head over to niceandneatthepodcast.com. Get your merch while you still can. And, continue to support the brand. With that said, we're going to conclude this week's halftime show and get to the second half the only way we know how. That's with some positive energy, some positive vibrations, and a smile, of course. Second half, let's go.
Fellas, we're in the second half now. We got to get to the nitty gritty.
Get on to it.
We got two of the questions that you should ask prior to getting married. And P. Ray, we got 3 more to go.
Yeah.
You kind of dropped a little bit of the third one in halftime, and I want you to get to the other 3 questions in this second half that you should ask prior to getting married.
Yeah, can we talk about finances? Right? That's the question that you have to ask, and not, this is how much money I want to make. This is what. That's not. I'm talking about your financial profile. What are your assets? How much do you make? Where is your debt? How many credit cards? I'm talking about actual detail. And a lot of people don't want to disclose that till they make, right? Because you feel, I know from like the first time I bought a house, I didn't like how it felt because you're going through all my stuff. And I don't feel great about my entire history, or you asking me questions about what I'm doing and what I did 2 years ago and you see what I'm saying? Can you open up the books to your person? It's required. Because I'm asking you to join me in this union, and you got to know what you're marrying. Because I'm agreeing to it. Marriage is a vehicle of agreement. So I can't agree to it if I don't know you got $250,000 worth of debt. But it's going to come up when we go to start making. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if that's my first time figuring it out, or my first time figuring out that, you know what I'm saying, that you've been overdrafted for 2 years and our joint account ain't really a joint account, it's just my money with both our names on it. I got to know that before we go in, and vice versa, right? But that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. But that drills down to this word trust. Do I trust you with the most vulnerable part of me? And a lot of times finances is it. When I got to show you what I'm doing with my money, or show you what, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that everything got to be a joint account. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying just showing you who I am from a financial perspective. It has to happen.
You talked about joint accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about finances right
Yeah.
now. Like, in a marriage, how should a joint account go? Is it we're both putting in a percentage of what we're making? Because things aren't equal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but to keep like the joint account growing, right? Shouldn't it be a certain a specific strategy to how we're putting in money, or like how does that go? I don't think a lot of people understand how that works. I don't understand how it works.
Yeah, I think that number one, I think the best course of action is you have your account, they have their account, and then you have a joint account. So you have 3 accounts, right? Because you still want some individuality in kind of how you move. Now, this is one thing that I heard that I thought was super key. Somebody posed a question and said, well, what do I do if I'm the sole breadwinner? What do I do? Because then my person doesn't have their own account. And they said, no, you give them an allowance or an allotment of money so that and you don't question how they spend it. Like, that's how you get, if one of the persons is stay at home, then I still gotta, you see what I'm saying? And I think that that's super important, because you don't want the person to feel dehumanized for the sacrifice, where it's like every time I do something, I gotta ask you, can I have, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even feel like an adult. So I just think that financially, in terms of joint accounts, it would be a percentage, right? If you make 3 times what your spouse makes, like, you got to consider that when you go into how are we doing this joint thing. Well, if you make 100,000 and she make 25, and you like, well, nah, we both got to put in. Well, you know what I'm saying? That's nothing for you, and I think that's insensitive. So again, you have to agree. What does this look like for us financially? But what's most important is knowing who I am. And money is one of the things that we hold real close. Like, I don't want you to know. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times what I've seen in relationships is it unearths then how you moved in your home of origin and how y'all moved with money. Well, my mama always told me, you don't never tell no man how much money you really got. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Which then becomes, that just opened up something new, where it's like, we got to figure out how we gonna do money, because you've also learned some things from your mom or from your parents or from your house that don't work for me.
Don't work for us.
It doesn't work for us, and that's the thing. So these questions are not just about just this, well, what do you think about money? No, it's gonna unearth some other stuff about what you learned, what your method was, because that's what marriage is. You got a method, I have a method, but now we got to have a method together on how we gonna move together.
Because we're gonna have kids one day, so like, what we
gonna
gonna teach
kids.
them? Your way or my way?
But that's what I'm saying.
Our way.
It has to be in
You know,
our
it
way,
has to be
right?
our way.
Yeah.
And that's what y'all were talking about, the discussion y'all had on submission. I saw that. That was dope.
Thank you, bro.
Like, so it's like when you are submitting, which is another huge thing, what am I submitting to? Well, I'm submitting to what we decided is going to be our way. Because in most cases, you got stuff that's like, you know what I mean? Like, I irritated the mess out of my wife because I didn't fold the towels right. Right? But your right is not my right. That's not how my mama folded it. You see what I'm saying? And I'm putting the stuff up thinking, I'm gonna get some brownie points today, man. This is going, I'm folding all the stuff. And she came home from work and was like,
Let's redo it.
what is this? You know what I'm saying? And so that's one of those types of things where you just got to figure out, how are we moving in this? Yep.
Okay, so what's the next one, man?
The next one is, what's the vision?
Sure.
What's the vision for our marriage? What are we doing? What's the goal? Most people just say marriage is the goal. But once we get in it, what are we doing?
We got to have a goal to continue chasing.
You got to, because if not, that's the reason why that's the reason why most people stop at the marriage. Once we say I do, that's it, and we go on autopilot. Nothing survives without a goal. Nothing survives without a destination, and most people don't think, okay, when we get to, how many children are we talking about? What are we talking about in terms of finances? Where do we want to be? What do we want to do for our children's children? Not just your children, but how are we going to make this generational and how we move? What do we want to do when it comes to how do we see ourselves in 20 years? Like my wife and I figured out this thing. We learned it from another couple where like right before New Year's, we'll sit down and talk about what are our goals for the year. What do we want to do as a couple? What do we want to, and it brings you together, right? Because you're working on stuff together. But if you don't have a vision for your marriage, well, again, lost, right? And you lack purpose in a thing. And once you lack purpose, let's be honest, you get bored. And once you get bored,
You're gonna wander.
you wonder.
You in that yard messing up.
Because working dogs gotta have a job.
Yep.
And if I don't have a job to do, in the relation of our marriage, I'm gonna mess up the yard. You see what I'm saying?
Fact.
So that's why I gotta have a vision, and we moving, and now I'm amped up, and we gotta keep talking about what it is. Every year we keep upping the ante. Every year we keep moving towards, and then we look back and it's like, man, can you believe we did this? Because how else are you gonna know whether or not your marriage is healthy if you don't have a goal?
There's no barometer. There's no measuring stick. There's no
measuring stick. If your measuring stick is I keep coming home, that's not a. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because your spouse or your person can be lonely and y'all married. Because you haven't talked about we need 3 vacations a year. I don't even care where it is, but we got to take time for ourselves. You busy, I'm busy, but we got to be intentional about each other. And you'll look up, next thing you know, you ain't took a vacation in 12 years.
It's like that.
And wondering why y'all living on opposite planets. And you just, you know what I mean? I can actually now, as a pastor, I can look at people and I don't think ill of people, right? I don't like project negativity. But I can tell when they waiting until the kids graduate. I can see it.
To end it.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see it. And I've told my wife a couple of times, I said, you wait until the last one graduate. It's over. And she's like, what? I was like, yeah. Because they're not on the same page. They're existing. And marriage was never meant to exist. It's never meant to exist. So it's like if you're going to be in it, why are you looking like that, Jelani? You look so serious.
Man, I mean, this is serious.
Hey, do me a favor real quick. Can you blow your mic a little bit? Yeah, that shit's hot. Hey, quit that thing down, dog.
If more people knew how serious marriage was, they'd take their time. Time is not your enemy. Time is not your enemy. The thing that you're in a rush to do will be the thing that erodes your marriage.
I was just talking about this actually on my live last week. Last week I just hit 4 years in a relationship with my girlfriend.
Hey man, congratulations,
man.
bro.
That's big.
And,
now 4 years of commitment is huge.
So,
No, that's big.
So we're in a very public relationship. All right, a lot of opinions. So I don't get moved too much about opinions, but you know, it may affect her a little bit more. A lot of people will say, man, like 4 years,
It's time.
like it's time. Why, he ain't proposed to you yet.
See,
He's stringing you along. You know,
crazy.
he's just stringing you along. Like, girl, like don't waste your time. Don't let him like waste the best years of your life. Things like that.
yeah.
You know, I'm pretty sure. Man,
See that?
and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure a lot of people say it. A lot of people hear it, right?
No, for real.
People will maybe DM me like things like, man, you need to hurry and put a ring on it, not knowing anything about me or her. It's just, you know, you just hear it a lot.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And I had
Those
to
are
really,
the congratulations people.
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
a lot of times people put that type of pressure on people to get married without even understanding if they even went through a significant process to prepare them for marriage.
Yes, sir.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
So it's
sir.
like a lot of people put time and they use time as the one thing that says, okay, you guys are ready for marriage. And I think that it puts pressure on women to want to be married, then in turn put pressure on the men to get married.
Yep.
And now you're in a relationship and in a marriage that you wasn't even ready for.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's dangerous. And then you take that on, right? If you're a weaker person, then you take on the identity of other people's opinions.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, man, I gotta hurry up. I know I'm not ready, but I gotta hurry up because I don't want people to say I'm flaky. I don't want people to say I'm not a real man. I don't want people to say I lack integrity. I don't want people to say, you see what I'm saying? I hear it is a dangerous thing for a man to be aware of the whispers. Right?
Yeah.
You can't spend a lot of time thinking about what other people are saying, even when you know what they're saying. Because if that's not the truth, you can't allow it to get into your decision making, because that's the way you make bad decisions. Right? I already know I'm in year 4. I already know, whatever, and I already know what they're saying. Yeah. So now my decisions are actually not even about my mate. It's about them. And that's why I said the thing that you're rushing for is the thing that will erode the marriage. So I'm actually really wanting to prove to them that I'm the person I say I am when I don't even need their approval. But because I move like that, I'm also going to move like that in my marriage.
Wow.
I'm married to you for them. So them is going to have more influence on me when we get married too. Because that's how we got into it.
Yep.
Right? And that's one of the questions. Is there anybody that has a bigger voice in your life than me?
Is that question 5?
That's 4. Is there anybody that has a bigger voice in your life than me? Which means when it's time for us to make decisions, right? Or I can say something, but my mama said, so now I'm coming back with mama's opinion into our decision making.
Oh.
So you're not really married to your spouse, you married to her mama or to the group. And that's when, okay, we got to talk about this, because if we and you have a conversation in our home, then you take it out and discuss, and you don't have an opinion until you discuss it with your cabinet.
You don't have an opinion.
You don't have an opinion, but you're bringing back the opinion. So now I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking to them. So I'm married to them, not you. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So now I can't manage 3 other people. I only gotten this to be married to one. But now I got to be married to your family and their opinions and what they think about me and what they think we should be doing. And at that point, that friction, right? Because you know it. As a man, as a woman, you know when somebody else has your spouse's ear and what they come, that ain't even you.
But don't you think that even if you ask that question before marriage, most women or most people will say, no one else's voice is bigger than yours?
I do think that. I think they would say that.
Most people will say that, right? So how do you even distinguish if that's like, how is that going to even dictate how you move? Because most people will say that even if it's not the case.
Is this mic on? Time will always tell you the truth if you're paying attention. That's why you don't rush. Time will always tell you. And you can't, most people see it, they just ignore what they see. He's coming to you with some stuff that is not even them. They're telling you, well, such and such said we should do this. What you think about that? They telling you. I have other voices that are part of our relationship that are weighed more. What do you think about this? I think such and such. Let me call. She telling you. You just not tripping. If you pay attention and you let time pass, time will give you the entire truth. You just got to be willing to accept it.
Got to be willing to give time too.
You got to be willing to give time. Because what you in a rush for?
Damn.
You feel me?
All right, so how about this, though? Because you saying what you in a rush for. But then I've heard women say, well, men don't really understand the complications that could come with being a woman and trying to have childbirth. Past 35. You get what I'm saying? So there's a biological thing that we have to think about and consider that does influence how fast we're ready to move.
That's true.
You understand
That's
what I
very
mean?
true.
So a lot of times we can say, well, what you rushing for? They'll say, well, I mean, in the perfect world, I wouldn't want to rush, but like we got to get moving.
Yeah. I would say this. Number one, that's completely true, right? And I think that some men use I'm not ready yet as an excuse for the work they're not doing. That's unfair. But if you are genuinely doing work and on yourself and you know there's still a space that I need to get to, and I've communicated that to you. I'm not quite there yet. I don't feel ready to make this commitment for this reason, or whatever, and I'm doing the work. That's a legit reason. And if you're in that space, my question to the person that you're in a relationship with would be this: well, would you rather us do the work now, or not do the work and bring a child into something that's not healthy? Are you that? Is it that important to you to have a child that you're willing to bring it into an unhealthy environment? And some people will say, yeah. I don't care if you're unfinished. And when I say finished or unfinished, we're always progressing and getting better and improving, right? But if there's some real stuff that you really got to work through, right? I don't believe that bringing a child into it makes it healthy. Again, it works just like marriage. It just exposes the truth of what it always is. But if you with somebody that really ain't tripping off of you, they just want children, then let's talk about that. Because that's also a truth, right? Because whatever you're in a rush to do is the thing that will erode the marriage. So this woman says, I just want to hurry up and get married. Okay, bet. Why? Because of the child. Right.
So the kids are going to break up the marriage?
So by the time you have the child, and then you're wondering, well, why is it that you don't have any time for me anymore?
Because all she wanted was
all she wanted was the kids. She
told you.
She told you.
She told you. Oh, I don't understand it. I mean, we got married. I did what you wanted me to do, and now you ignore me.
I told you.
You talking about you tired. We get to the bed and you ain't got no more energy. What happened? And she's like, I'm a mother now. She told you. Is this mic on? Right? Yeah. So we got to talk about it. And it's true, there are complications, but then what matters most? What do you care more about? Do you care more about having a child or having a child in a healthy environment? And if you're willing for the child to be in a space that's not completely fleshed out, what does that say about you? Yeah. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying we just got to agree.
Yep. Yep. So what's number 5, man?
Number 5 is, do we agree?
Wow. Your segue has been kind of incredible.
Right? No, seriously. Seriously.
Yeah.
Hey.
Do we agree? Right? Because again, marriage is not just about love. And people always say that love is not enough. It's really not.
It's not.
It's not.
I could tell you like 16, 17 other things.
But that's what I'm saying. Because we can love each other and not agree. And if we don't agree, we ain't going nowhere. And marriage is designed to agree. So we got to agree on whatever it is. Do we agree on the vision? Do we agree on what we're going to do as far as finances? Do we agree on how we're going to raise our children? Do we agree on how many? Do we agree? Like, there are so many things that we got to agree on. Do we agree that we're going to submit to each other? Right? And once you get to that space.
To submit to each other.
To submit to each other. And to submit, you said it, Duke, to submit to our way. Are you so tied and anchored to your past and who you used to be that you can't become a we? Are you submitting now to our method on how we do stuff in this house? Do we agree? Right? And once you get to that space, the sky's the limit. But if you can't agree, you ain't going nowhere. And you'll get into this, and I've seen it literally, mathematically, these 3-month cycles where you feel like, oh, we almost... every 3 months. Why? Because that's what happens when you're unequally yoked. You know, the Bible says being unequally yoked. Y'all have heard that. Yep. I don't know if you heard that phrase. And it's literally when you have these two animals, these oxen in yoke together, and one is stronger than the other. When they take off, they end up going, the mechanism, they can't move forward. They end up going in circles because they're not of equal strength. That's how the animals work. So when we do that and you wonder, why is my relationship, why do I keep going in circles? Why do we keep
not equally yoked?
We ain't in the space. We don't agree. We secretly, you don't agree with how she moves. She don't agree with the method. Y'all getting in arguments on the same thing all the time with no, that's a sign to you. We still arguing about the same stuff 5 years later? Yeah. We have no resolve on nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Except time. Wow. At some point, you got to question, we got to agree.
Wow.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Okay. Let's say we already are married. Right? We already are married. What is more important To fall in love with your partner or fall in love with the idea of being married?
Whoa. The idea of being married.
The idea of marriage. We just use marriage.
That's what a lot of people do. They fall in love with the idea, which means when the work comes, they're not in love with that.
I got
Right?
you.
They're
Fairy
not, because
tale.
they're not in love with the partner.
They're not in love with
Fairy
the
tale.
partner. Yeah, I'm in love with the idea of having a person.
White
I'm
picket
in love
fence,
with
family.
Yeah, I see what I see because and you'll know it again when you see people putting all this effort into planning a wedding, and then as soon as the wedding over, it's like, whew,
Yes.
and then everybody take down, and that's it.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? The idea of marriage is way sexier than the work. Right?
Facts.
And if you're with somebody that's never been committed to anything, that's dangerous. Because as an athlete or whatever you do, if you've been committed to something and you've been in the moments, and we talked about this in the barber chair, I don't feel it today, but I'm committed. Every day I'm not gonna be motivated to fool with you. But because of my love and my commitment to the union, I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna talk to
I'm
you.
not picking
right?
and choosing.
I know how to train
I'm not
myself.
picking and choose.
I know how to. I've trained myself, trained my mindset to go even when I want to stop.
What's that called? Discipline.
Discipline. And when you don't have discipline, people who are in love with the idea of marriage will get upset with disciplined people. Right? Because on the days, Duke, that you wake up and you ain't feeling me, but you do it anyway, I'm mad at you because you ain't feeling it.
They don't understand. It went over their head.
Okay, say it again.
Yeah, go ahead.
So on the days that you wake up and you do it, but you not feeling it, I'm not, hey, I'm like, what's going on? Let's get it. Right?
Yes.
Because we have those days.
Yep.
I have days when my wife is like, hey, babe, how you doing? What's going on?
It's good. It's good.
good.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's good.
I'm here.
I'm coming in. Hey, how you doing? I'm gonna be upstairs.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna still give you that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna still give you
be a little
that
dry.
to
Could be a
acknowledge.
little dry.
Because I kiss you every time I come through the door.
But you
Anyway.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not like, hey, how you, it's not gonna be like that, right? But I'm still committed to it. But if you're in love with the idea, then when you don't come in like, hey, if you don't come in like that, then I'm like, you don't want to be with me no more? Oh, no. I'm committed. Oh, but I want the commitment to be attached to the emotion all the time. Wow. But sometimes the emotion ain't there. I don't get up and work out every morning because I want to.
Come on.
Sometimes I want to sleep in.
Come on.
And sometimes I work out mad.
Come on.
But when I'm done, I'm like, I did that. I did that.
Damn,
you see what I'm
man.
saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So just to recap, let's go through the 5. Just list them off real quick.
All right. Number 1, who breaks the tie?
Okay.
Number 2, is this person compatible with my purpose?
Okay.
Number 3, can we talk finances?
Okay.
And that's full financial disclosure.
Open the book.
Open the books, all of them, student loans, everything. Number 4, what's our vision for marriage? And number 5, do we agree?
Okay.
That's it.
Wow. Listen, man. Incredible.
Incredible.
Man, I had
Just
fun with
incredible,
y'all.
man.
I had fun.
Man, that mic right now, that shit is melting.
Yeah. I don't even want this to stop, low
Hey,
key.
look.
Nah.
Hey, incredible though, man.
We
Thank
can
you
do it
for
again.
thank you for
Have
just
fun.
coming through and blessing us like that, man. That's something that just as men we need to hear.
Yeah.
Right? It's we just need those types of messages and that type of word, man. So really incredible, just mind shift. You
Man,
feel
I
me?
appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Like I wish I had this. I'm thankful for y'all for Nice and Neat because
Yeah.
it gives cats a chance to. Is that old? Am I old? I
No.
said cats.
Nah,
No. Go ahead.
But it gives men a chance and women a chance to hear truth,
Yep.
and we didn't have that,
Man.
and we made a lot of mistakes because we didn't hear it. So
Man.
thank y'all. I appreciate y'all.
Of course. So where can our listeners and the viewers find you?
Hit me up on Instagram. That's where I do most of my stuff
Mm-hmm.
at I am Ray Murray.
I am Ray Murray.
I am Ray Murray. Yep.
Okay. Guys, really appreciate you guys for watching and listening. If you're watching right now, please comment what you think about the episode. Let us know what your favorite takeaway is and how it impacted you, okay? Make sure you follow us on all social platforms. Subscribe to us on all streaming platforms. Follow us everywhere at Nice and Neat the Podcast. All right, follow myself on Instagram at Duke, Omar at Omar.Bowden, Jalon at just.Jalon. Much love, much gratitude, guys. See you guys next time. I'm Duke.
I'm Omar.
I'm Jalon.
And I'm P. Ray.
And this is another episode of Nice and Neat. And that's that on that.
I'll be the one to take the risk to go and get them bands. I'll be the one to never sit and go and make a plan. Knowing my mother getting old and I don't got no time. Gotta keep a couple for the road, the rest get left behind. Yeah. To the hundreds, pledge allegiance, I stand. I'm going.